Hello, hello. So, welcome, welcome to today's reading. And you know, I'm kind of, I think yesterday, if you watched what we did yesterday, I shared with you that I had looked at a bunch of different books. We had just finished reading a whole full year of the 24-hour day book, and I'd like to share something that is meaningful for me and hopefully helpful for you, and with the idea that something out of this, will lift us both up, and my experience, my belief, if you will, is that we if we hang with the high vibration stuff, we're lifted up with that. So there's many books I could have read, and I think yesterday I showed you, and yesterday I read from the Sermon on the Mount by Emmett Fox, and I'd love to go into that book with you. I would really love to go deep into this Sermon on the Mount with Emmett Fox with you, and I might do that in another way. It's really something, and he takes this sermon that was given to us by Christ, by Jesus, and really goes deep into analyzing it in a metaphysical way. And Emmett Fox was, Google Emmett Fox. He was really something. So beautiful book, but and a bunch of others that I've looked at that I have that we could have done a daily reading, and I thought this keeps coming up for me. This is the book that Stephen Mitchell wrote, the Tao Te Ching, and a number of years ago. The Tao Te Ching was well, I'll just tell you, this is Tao Te Ching, and I'm going to read a little bit of the introduction for you, and this may be a bit long today because I want to kind of bring you up to speed on what we're doing here, and Stephen, thank you. If hopefully that we can do this, and you're okay with this. Tao Te Ching, pronounced more or less Tao Te Ching, can be translated as the book of the eminence of the way. That's one of the translations of Tao Te Ching, the book of the eminence of the way, or the book of the way and of how it manifests itself in the world, or simply the book of the way. Since it is already well known by its Chinese title, I have let that stand. Tao Te Ching, that's the title. Lao-tzu wrote this book, and there's not much, and he talks about Lao-tzu. Lao-tzu is its author. There's particularly nothing to be said. He may have been an older contemporary of Confucius, and may have held the position of archive keeper in one of the petty kingdoms of the time. So Lao-tzu, we've all heard of Lao-tzu, but there's not much said about him. But all the information that has come down to us is highly suspect. Even the meaning of his name is uncertain. And the most likely interpretation, the old master, or more picturesque, the old boy. Like an Iroquois woodsman, he left no traces. All he left us is his book, the classic manual on the art of living, written in a style of gemlike lucidity, radiant with humor and grace, and large-heartedness and deep wisdom, one of the wonders of the world. So this book is known as one of the wonders of the world. People usually think of Lao-tzu as a hermit, a dropout from society, dwelling serenely in some mountain hut, envisioned unvisited, except perhaps by the occasional traveler arriving from a 60s joke to ask, what's the meaning of life? But it's clear that his teachings, they deeply cared about society, if society meant the welfare of one's fellow human beings. If society means the welfare of one's fellow human beings. His book is, among other things, a treatise in the art of government. Imagine, whether of a country or of a child. The misconception may arise from his insistence on wei wu wei, literally doing, not doing, which has been seen as passivity, nothing could be further from the truth. A good athlete, he says, can enter a state of body awareness in which the right stroke or the right movement happens by itself, effortlessly, without any interference of the conscious will. This is a paradigm of non-action. The purest, most active form of action. The game plays the game. The poem writes the poem. We cannot tell the dancer from the dance. Less and less do you need to force things until finally you arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. So nothing is done because the doer has wholeheartedly vanished into the deed. The fuel has been completely transformed into flame. This nothing is, in fact, everything. It happens when we trust the intelligence of the universe, in the same way that the athlete or the dancer trusts the superior intelligence of the body. Beautiful. Hence Lao-tzu's emphasis on softness. Softness means the opposite of rigidity and is synonymous with suppleness, adaptability, endurance. Anyone who has seen a Tai Chi or Aikido master doing, not doing, will know how powerful this softness is. Lao-tzu's central figure is a man or woman whose life is in perfect harmony with the way things are. This is not an ideal, it is a reality. I have seen it. The master has mastered nature, not in the sense of conquering it, but of becoming it. In surrendering to the Tao, in giving up all concepts, judgments, and desires, her mind has grown naturally compassionate. Beautiful. She finds deep in her experience the central truths of the art of living, which are paradoxically only on the surface. That the more truly solitary we are, the more compassionate we can be. The more we let go of what we love, the more present our love becomes. The clearer our insight into what is, beyond good and evil, the more we can embody the good, until finally she is able to say, in all humility, I am the Tao, the truth, the life. Just going to back up on that just a little bit. That the more truly solitary we are, the more compassionate we can be. The more we let go of what we love, the more present our love becomes. The clearer our insight into what is beyond good and evil, the more we can embody the good, until finally we're able to say in all humility, I am the Tao, the truth, the life. The teachings of the Tao Te Ching is moral in the deepest sense, unencumbered by any concepts of sin. The master doesn't even see evil as a force to resist, but simply as a ubiquitous, a state of self-absorption, which is in disharmony with the universal process. So self-centeredness, self-absorption. Sounds familiar, especially in our teachings in the 12 steps. A state of self-absorption which is in disharmony with the universal process. So that, as with a dirty window, the light cannot shine through. This freedom from moral categories allows him his great compassion for the wicked and the selfish. Nice. Thus, the master is available to all people. Just so you know, I'm reading the Tao Te Ching. We've just started. Thus, the master is available to all people and doesn't reject anyone. He's ready to use all situations and doesn't waste anything. This is called embodying the light. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? If you don't understand this, you will get lost. However intelligent you are, it is the great secret. Beautiful. The reader will notice that in the many passages where Lao-tzu describes the master, I have used the pronoun she, at least as often as he. The Chinese language doesn't make this kind of distinction. In English, we have to choose. But since we are all potentially the master, since the master is essentially us, I felt it would be untrue to present a male archetype, as other versions have. Ironically done. Ironically, because of all the great world religions, the teachings of Lao-tzu is by far the most feminine. Of course, we should feel free throughout the book to substitute he for she or vice versa. As to method, I have worked from Paul Crusoe's literal version, which provides English equivalents, often very quaint ones, alongside each of the Chinese ideograms. I've also consulted dozens of translations into English, German, and French. I've also consulted dozens of translations into English, German, and French. But the most essential preparation for my work was a 14-year-long course of Zen training. Wow. Which brought me face to face with Lao-tzu and his true disciples and heirs, the early Chinese Zen masters. With great poetry, the freest translation is sometimes the most faithful. We must try its effect as an English poem, said Dr. Johnson. Or we must try its effect as an English poem. Dr. Johnson said, that is the way to judge the merit of a translation. I have often been fairly literal, or as literal as one can be with such a subtle, kaleidoscopic book as the Tao Te Ching. But I have also paraphrased, expanded, contracted, interpreted, worked with the text, played with it, until it became embodied in a language that felt genuine to me. I haven't always translated Lao-tzu's words. My intentions have always been to if I haven't always translated Lao-tzu's words, my intention has been to translate his mind. So we're going to go into the Tao Te Ching, and it's basically 81 little writings, so they'll be short when I get to them. Okay, this is a longer one today to kind of explain what I did and why we're doing it, and hopefully that you can go back and look at this forward or read at any time. I encourage you to get a copy of this. It's amazing, Stephen Mitchell. And number one, this is his first kind of little. It's very short, and I'll just read it for you right now. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the internal real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mastery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Yet mastery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway of all understanding. Wow. So that's the reading today, a very short, first of all, his forward to that book, and that's day one. They're all very short, so but we'll go this day at a time, and hopefully you enjoy it. And that's the deal for today. Love you guys. So remember, If we are developing, if your intention is to develop a relationship with a higher power, to, be one with that, be in relationship with that higher power, God, however you want to call them. Meditation is a big piece of that. We're not going to meditate today, but we may sometimes as we go through this book. I feel like quite vulnerable reading this. The Tao Te Ching is, wow. But let's do it. And love you guys. I'd love to hear your comments. If you have any thoughts on this, love to hear it. Thanks. Love you, love you, love you. We'll talk soon. Cheers.